Today, we're going to have a little chit chat about our top 5 things we learned in Mr. Grammy's Red 3 Campus Ministry.
Starting us off with number 5.
Hit the balls. You do 3, I'll do 2. Sacramental economy. This was an interesting thing that we learned by reading our textbook.
Article 8.
Article
if you
8.
Want to cite it?
It was something that neither of us have heard of, and it really stood out to us. And we found that it was an interesting way to explain the way that Jesus Christ gives us grace through the Catholic Church. It's defined as
the communication or dispensation of the fruits of Christ's Paschal mystery in the celebration of the Church's sacramental liturgy. And we ranked this one as number 5 because although it's an important aspect of what we're learning about in the sacraments, it's only one aspect of the sacraments as a whole.
It's a very powerful truth about how God is acting through the Church to spread grace into each and every one of our lives.
Facts.
On to number 4.
That was good.
That was really
good.
dope. We're going to call this one fellowship. More of a procedural aspect of how do we bring people in to campus ministry just on a surface level, and then slowly but surely start deepening the faith aspect of our friendships and our interactions with other people.
Ben Nash and I consider ourselves slightly outgoing, sociable people.
Reasonably outgoing, yes.
A little bit.
So we found that this was an awesome opportunity, or fun lunch was an awesome opportunity to learn how to use our social skills for the good of campus ministry and for the good of the church. So we learned how to bring people in and how to start small but slowly work our way up to deeper conversation.
Yeah, I personally don't mind talking to a random person, so it was just kind of fun, introducing myself to the little freshman and saying, hey, we're having a little fun lunch over here in the little Guadalupe quad, come join us. It's a good time.
This is ranked number 4 on our list because it wasn't something entirely new to us, but it was definitely a new opportunity, and we learned some new skills and just some new things along the way. So, number 3.
Oh.
Shoot.
Learning about each other, which is something we consider to be a procedural thing that we learned this year. It was just, we realized that as a campus ministry class, there's a lot of stuff that we need to do with our classmates, and we just found it valuable that we got to learn a lot about each other and how it was useful in all the times that we got to work together as a class and in groups and putting on the mass. It was nice to be able to do it with people who we got familiar with.
Yeah, I think I've learned loads about all of our classmates, where people come from, what people are like, what people are interested in. Other people who I might not know as well, I feel like I know a lot better, and I think that that's been a really awesome opportunity, because in order to grow spiritually as a class, we first have to be comfortable with each other. And so I think we've, in learning about each other, we've created a much more conducive environment for spiritual growth.
Did you know that Alicia Morales travels an hour and a half to school every day?
I did not know that before Campus Men, but after Campus Men, I know it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm up and doing it. On to number 2. That was nice. Yeah, that was pretty easy to figure out.
Yeah.
This is an academic thing that we learned, and I think it's really important to our faith. It's the definitions of sanctifying and actual graces, the difference between the two, and the importance of being in the state of grace and how that compares to being out of the state of grace. Sanctifying grace is the general grace that we receive at baptism, which gives us the opportunity to be saved when we die and go to heaven. Whereas actual graces are instances in our life where God intervenes and acts in some way that helps us to glorify Him. So I think that knowing the difference between the two helps us to observe both of those types of graces in our everyday lives, and calls us to thank God for giving us both the ability to be with Him in heaven someday, and for those small blessings that we get each and every day that we sometimes take for granted.
We ranked this one as number 2 because it was just kind of a comparison that we had never really learned about before, but then once we did learn about it, we realized how important and vital it is to our faith.
It also really draws us into the sacraments because in order to be in the state of grace, if we've committed a mortal sin, we require the sacrament of confession because we need God's forgiveness in order to be back into that relationship with Him. It's important. I thought it was cool to think of grace as a relationship rather than a thing. And so, the sacraments are the way that He gives us that sanctifying grace again and again and again and again.
Now for our number 1 thing we learned this year, how to serve at Mass. And this is a procedural thing that we learned. Now that I think about it, it's also kind of an academic thing we learned because we learned about all
That's
of
true.
that goes into the Mass and
And all the
parts
different
of the
names
Mass.
of things,
You know.
the ciborium, the corporal,
True.
the stack, which is Latin for stack.
Liturgy of the Word, liturgy of the Eucharist.
The order of the Mass and the purpose for all of the little parts.
And I think all of this goes into why this is ranked as our number 1, because it's A, really important, B, really applicable to our daily lives for those who go to daily Mass, aka Ben Nash.
These are some of the most practical skills that we're going to learn in campus ministry because we do have Mass every morning, and so it's always important to have people who know how to help out and know how to pitch in. And I think just in the future, being comfortable with serving at the Mass because the church will never not be in need of ministers. I think the skills will go beyond the scope of cathedral. And while Lauren's finishing her chocolate,
Being an altar server at daily Mass, like you just learn about I used to altar serve at St. Pat's at my old school in 3rd grade, but you get to see how every Mass does things a little bit differently.
thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, hit that like button, smash that like,
And
give me a thumbs up.
leave something in the comments below if you really,
Hey, if
really
you got any questions, comments,
leave it in the comments
concerns,
below. I'll make sure to add it into next week's video.
Link to next week's video will be here.
Subscribe here.
Subscribity dive. That is our list. We really hope you enjoyed it. We are just so grateful to be in campus ministry this year, learning loads and loving every second of it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Grammy. See ya next. Why did you do that?
Huh?
No.
A whip and a nene?
No.
Wait, just watch me. Ooh,
No.
watch
stop.
me.
See ya next semester, Mr. Grammy.
Later.